This is never what the argument for the movement for Black lives has been, is that you just get to kill Black people, particularly when they're not being perfect. And if that is the standard, then no Black person is really, truly going to be safe if we cannot be having a bad day.
Those comments coming after several angles of video showing what officials say is a teenager lunging at someone with a knife before the officer opens fire, preventing an attack.
Bottom line, Republicans say this shows the left simply was refusing to accept that a police officer in this country may have been right in his or her actions. Joining us now, Joe Gamaldi, Vice President of the National Fraternal Order of Police. Really looking forward to having you on today. Thanks so much for being here, sir. Are you seeing one party or another addressing these police shootings in the right way? It seems there are some, as you just heard in that montage, that are weighing in and, quite frankly, ignoring the facts involved.
Yeah, well, I think you're absolutely seeing the far left jumping to conclusions whenever we have an incident like this. And the truth is, this country is a powder keg right now when it comes to officer-involved shootings or officer use of force. And when you have people who are weighing in before we have all the facts, before we have all the information, you are just perpetuating this doom cycle that we have of we jump to conclusions, we argue about it, then the facts come out, and it turns out that the officer was right and acting within policy and the law. But now the damage is done, and there has been protests, there's been riots, and it's doing irreparable harm to our communities. And in the case of the Columbus incident, we now actually have elected officials gaslighting the American public to try to make them believe that stabbing someone is normal or that knife fights are acceptable between teenagers. I mean, this is completely insane. This officer acted within policy, training, and the law, and he saved the young girl's life. And they should be thanking the officer that he was there to be able to step in that situation instead of trying to normalize behavior such as trying to stab someone. It's ridiculous, and frankly, it's dangerous.
Joe, as you mentioned, a lot of people have spoken out or commented about this. One of the people that did that in our intro was Joy Behar of The View. She was wondering if there was something else the officer could have done. Let's play what she said, and then we'll get you on the flip side.
I've looked at the tape and I still can't figure it out. Shoot the gun in the air as a warning, tase a person, shoot them in the leg, shoot them in the behind, you know, stop them somehow. But if the only solution is to kill a teenager, there's something wrong with this.
Speak to that idea, if you would, Joe, that maybe the officer could have done something else. You know, I have seen reports where if somebody is in an adrenaline-fueled frenzy, as this woman appeared to be, that if you shot her in the leg or the buttocks, unless you took her out from, you know, a vital part of that appendage, she probably wouldn't have even known that she had been shot.
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank Joy Behar for weighing in with her years of police experience. And this is the problem. People don't do any research before they put out a message to a platform of millions. Why don't we have a discussion about warning shots, Joy? They're prohibited in every single police agency. And, oh, yeah, a simple law of physics, what goes up must come down. So those bullets are going to come down somewhere. And this other idea of shooting someone in the leg, first of all, someone has a femoral artery in their leg. Not only that, we shoot center mass because that is the largest target. If that officer misses and hits the girl next to him, the one who is the actual victim in all of this, how is that going to play out? And I see this happen every single time there's a shooting. Why didn't the officer karate chop the knife out of their hand or roundhouse kick? It is completely ridiculous. It's not grounded in any facts or any training that law enforcement does. But once again, they put this out to millions of people with no factual basis whatsoever.
Joe, to be clear, you've seen the videos. We've seen the videos, now multiple videos of what played out that day with that Columbus teenager. What has been your assessment, knowing the investigation still has yet to play out? What has been your assessment of what went down that day?
Well, listen, a 16-year-old girl lost her life. It is a complete tragedy that occurred. But that officer acted within policy, training, and the law, and he saved that other girl's life. Because there was no doubt in anyone's mind she was rearing that knife back to stab that young girl. That officer acted appropriately in order to stop the threat. That officer didn't want to take anybody's life, and no officer goes out on the street and wants to take anyone's life. And the difficult part of all of this conversation is that we all have the same goal in mind. We want to reduce officer-involved shootings. But if we don't stop this doom cycle of just yelling at one another after one of these shootings happens, and actually sit down and have a conversation about how that individual's actions, when that officer is there, has a tremendous impact on if that officer uses force. If we don't actually get that message out there, we're just going to be doing the same thing over and over and over again. But I will tell you this, the National FOP stands ready to sit down with anyone who wants to have a fact-based conversation about how we can reduce officer-involved shootings and make it safer for not only the officers, but for the community as well.
Joe, in the wake of the Columbus shooting, and again, it's a tragedy that a young girl is dead as a result of what happened that afternoon, the White House appeared to portray the police officer in a very negative light. And then LeBron James, probably the most famous person in all of basketball, if not at the moment in history, tweeted out this to say that you're next with a photograph of the officer, hashtag accountability. He later took it down, saying that it was fueling hate. But what does it do to police officers across the nation when somebody like LeBron James, with his stature and his 50 million Twitter followers, tweets something like that?
Well, I mean, listen, it was extremely reckless and extremely dangerous on the part of LeBron James, especially someone with the resources that he had. He could have done some research before stepping into this fray and putting out a tweet like that. All it does is inflames everyone. It puts everyone at risk. And frankly, athletes should be sticking to what they do best, which is playing sports. I mean, that's my opinion, instead of weighing in on politics. And frankly, majority of Americans agree with me. But you know what? That's their right to weigh in. But at least take the time out of your busy day to research and get the facts. Because as you can see, he was backtracking and deleting the tweet later on in the day. But by then, the damage is done.
Joe, we've got to leave it there. We're out of time. But really quickly, how would you describe the morale of our police right now?
I've been a police officer for 16 years, and I have never seen morale as bad as it is right now. Recruitment is down. New Jersey just put out a study, over 90% recruitment's down. Recruitment's down in Colorado by 70%. I've never seen it this bad. And really, we need to break this doom cycle, and we all need to come together and figure out how we can move forward, because we can't keep doing this over and over again.
We'll continue the conversation. Appreciate you joining us this afternoon. Thank you, Joe.